originating from the USA. What concrete steps has government taken to get our fair share from the Facebook, Amazon, etc.? I think this is a question for the Honorable Minister of Finance, please. So I think these set of questions will do for now.
Yeah.
I think I'll be really quick about that. I think the e-levy, we've pushed it to its limit. And really, the recipient, does not get levied, and also the 100 CDs threshold, I think, responds to that question. But certainly of all of these things, you get more information, you talk to interested parties, and we will sharpen it as we move forward. I think, Mr. Kofi Frimpong, you answered these digital issues of withholding taxes and Amazon, etc., etc. So I don't know whether you want to take that question and respond to the withholding taxes outside, that we are now going to be part of the beneficiaries of that going forward.
Okay, no, I think as the question came, the guy was rather re-emphasizing the point that, and I believe that is a good way to go. And I suggest that maybe from this form, it will be a recommendation to the government to find a way to also get its fair share of those digital issues. Because what they are saying that for the ones that they produce and it goes out there, they end up paying the taxes, but we are being left out of the pie. So I believe that it's about recommendation, and we finding out how best we can also get our portion of the ones that are also coming here. So that will be the answer. I think it will be a recommendation to the government, and we'll seek to see how best we can also assist in fashioning out a policy or a guide for the government to roll it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
I think one, the set talked about the accusation that manufacturers are being pampered, etc. And of course, he was resistant to that. I mean, certainly there have been mistakes made, over the course of our 60-year history, and some of the policies that we are reversing. But clearly, I think it is quite obvious as to what we feel about manufacturing and what we have done in this budget. So you shouldn't beat us over the head about the chapters of other things that we have to do, but be more encouraging for us to do, to dialogue and to do more. And the issue of the benchmarking, yes, we have reversed it, but I think the onus is on us then to find resources for clearly these international level traders who can go anywhere to cut a deal, to then give a basis for them to become manufacturers. What is it that we need to do to create industrial parks, easy to move in, long-term capital, so that these widgets and nails and toothpicks can now be done here? Because, I mean, their ingenuity and innovation and ability to go and bring these things is unquestioned. So the next step for us now is not only because we have moved back these benchmark values, but to show that our banking system and the type of training that COSI and Co are going to do is going to be an outlet which enables appropriate financing to support that transition. And I think that's our responsibility to do that, so that you increase the sense of energy in manufacturing as opposed to killing that. So that's our sense of that, what you call organizational capacity, that people in Aboso, Kain, and Kantama will have proven. And we need to tap into that.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. We'll take some questions from the chats, online. Thank you very much, Andy. So this one is from Ofori-Atta, and it says, as a procurement specialist, it is disappointing to find that once again the budget focuses more on revenue generation when actually there's so much opportunity for curbing waste in the expenditure management, but more importantly, leverage spend management. Why is this so? I believe this is for the Honorable Minister of Finance again.
Very good question. And the issue of expenditure commitments and how we even in government circles find ways in which transactions eventually get to procurement, and how to get ministries to be really very clear on their objectives and investments for the year, such that third-party introduction of transactions, which then they are not really ready to assess, are discouraged. And we are sending all sorts of letters as to how we are going to do our value for money, and if this thing is not on the list, it shouldn't even be tolerated, because it goes to lead to deviations from the budget that is not. So you look at Appendix 10C and E, etc., and you see 2022, you see what we recognize to be medium term, all in a way to shape sort of policies such that, third-party interventions, which seem to be a lot more expensive, are reduced and or eliminated. So yes, we are getting at it in these ways.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I'll give the last question to Mr. Robert Jatto, Financial Strategy Services Lead at KPMG. Robert, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Andy. Mine is actually a suggestion and some thoughts. One is, Madam Kosi talked about the significant data, 900,000 SMEs that we have. Some of them have benefited from CABAS. So my thought would be, how do we take maybe the top 1,000 of those SMEs and really scale them up, look at those that have the growth potential and scale them up, right? So we are building our Dangotes of tomorrow right here in Ghana. That could be something we should look at. In that same database, we have people who have received grants. We know that Ghanaians find it difficult to pay taxes. Those who have received grants, let them pay those grants to us in a form of getting into the culture of paying taxes. Even if it's 2 cities or 5 cities, we get them to pay. Over time, we are getting people into the mindset of paying taxes. The last one is how we're going to drive this private sector led, if you like, entrepreneurship. Take KPMG, for example. We train a number of people every year for industry. Can we incentivize KPMG and other people similar to us to begin to take people right from school? And that goes back to the point Dr. Chumbafo, I believe, made earlier on around, if we train people, there's always that disconnect between what they get in, even if they're first class student or CA qualified, and what happens in industry. We can actually provide that bridge, and we should be looking at similar institutions that can really begin to pick people, be it apprenticeship or internship, to really begin to get people into the mindset. So those are my thoughts and suggestions.
Thank you, Robert. More contributions than... So we come to the end of our panel session. I am going to give each of our panelists a minute just to put out their closing remarks or some burning comments that they have as a result of all the contributions and inputs that have come to the floor. Obviously, Honorable Minister will go last. So let me start from the far end. Kofi Kori.
Thank you, Andy. And I think, for me, the budget is quite ambitious, as I said at the beginning of the discussions. There are quite a number of opportunities also that are enshrined in the budget. Those including the young entrepreneurs, the 50,000 CAPs that are open for people to be able to access, the mentorship programs that have been built into it, a few tax relaxations that have been done for businesses and for manufacturing and for industry, the removal of the benchmark values and other things. But what I also say on that point to conclude is that yes, sometimes we also need to look at even the benchmark values in its first place for a number of businesses that are even bringing goods for manufacturing and for industry. Sometimes the challenge has been between what values are put on those items that are coming for duties, custom duties, as compared to the same values for their corporate income taxes. So that is also one disparity between customs and then the company income taxes. So that is also an area that even though these things are being looked at, then they need to also look at it in a holistic way to ensure that there's consistency in how businesses or industry is being treated and being regarded in that way. So I believe, as the minister has also said, we all need to give a support for the policies in there, for industry, for entrepreneurs, for the youth that are unemployed. Let's all assess, review and assess what are in there for us. And I can say that there are a number of initiatives that are in there. Let's ensure that we are all moving to support and we are all moving to develop ourselves and in developing the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Kofi. Dr. Chumesi Bafo.
Thank you. In wrapping up, I believe that a lot has been said about initiatives and policies in the budget. And like the Honorable Minister said, as a country, we have made some mistakes over the years in terms of our inability to properly target with certain policy initiatives. For example, the benchmark figures is a clear example. When you look at the list of items in there, you think that, wow, so tissue paper, chocolates, all those items are coming in competing with our local industries. So the question you ask us, what was the data that backed that policy originally for us to make those deadweight laws for us to now come back and reverse it? So going forward, I think as a country, we have come of age to invest in data collection and research for evidence-based policy making so that we do not keep on repeating some of these mistakes we have made over time. And my last bit is there's a lot of talk about tax revenue generation in the budget and here, but we also know that Ghana is a resource-rich nation. And with the informal nature of our economy, there's only so much that we can generate from tax revenue. This e-levy is trying to robe in the informal sector. But the question we ask is, how much are we making from our natural resources? It is something we need to take a critical look going forward. It's not an issue you can attain over a year, but when you look at other countries that are doing equally well based on natural resource, you look at Botswana, that is, for example, doing 18% of non-tax revenue from its diamonds to GDP. Ghana is doing barely 4% of revenue from our natural resources. I think it is something going forward. We need to take a critical look because these are non-renewable resources, and as we keep using them, we are denying future generations of it. So what investment are we making from reaping all these things? And are we getting good value for the average Ghanaian in terms of the exploration of these natural resources? I think it is critical that we take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. Yankee Aye.
So I think everything has been said. There's a lot more that can be said. But for me, I'm excited about the future, and I'm excited about building a sustainable entrepreneurial nation. And the reason is because I've been passionate about this for many years. And I've seen how it's transformed the lives of people, it's transformed the lives of some of the districts that we've worked in, and I see the potential in it. I think the onus lies on us, and especially for institutions such as myself, to ensure that we implement it effectively and implement it well. And I think that's the commitment as an institution we make. But we'll need everybody to support us and make it a reality. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible. And that's what we need to have a mindset change to, where we believe that there's the possibility that it will work. And I say this because when the CAP business support started, everybody thought it was not possible. But one of the things we realized was it was possible, and even people are paying back. Everybody said people will not pay back. And that's the difference. The difference is believing that it will happen and also believing that it will change the lives of people. And that's what we're going to do together. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chumakabwa.
Well, thank you very much. And in business, there are challenges, and we can't shy away from it. But I think I'll go more on the side of the minister because there are also opportunities. And therefore, let's be positive about it. Let's harness the opportunities and make it work well for us. And indeed, even in the manufacturing industry space, there's opportunity under the CFTA. And the CFTA gives us, a bigger market opportunity to export because we are together as an African country, African continent. But of course, it also opens our doors. So it all depends on how you strategize well to take advantage of the opportunities that is at stake. I also take the challenge of the benchmark review that the minister has thrown to us, that we should go beyond the review and actually strategize and bring, big-time investors and do the right things to get, a lot more of the products produced in Ghana. And I think that is a challenge we need to take up. But in that challenge also, it means we also need to further discuss. And I think we need to consolidate the gains and how do we sustain the discussion on this. I like the orientation that is going on now, that it's about business. It's about creating sustainability. It's about creating jobs. So if these are the key elements of our agenda, then I think industrialization is key. And therefore, beyond the benchmark, we should continue discussing which other areas we can improve to make sure that we meet this noble objective. And let me also quickly just explain something quickly, that the benchmark value reduction policy has not been withdrawn. It is a review of it to target products, selected products that we have local capacity. And therefore, I think I would like to, and it's less than about 40 products or so, and you can imagine the hundreds of products we import into this country. That hasn't been touched at all. And therefore, let me take the opportunity to let people appreciate that it's not industry against traders. In any case, the traders, when they are selling products, it's about their margins. Where the product is coming from does not matter. If you can buy from local sources and sell and make your margins, you are still in business. So it's not putting anybody out of business. Let's rather work together and create the jobs which is sustainable for our own people. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, your parting words, comments.
Thank you very much, and really to thank you for this dialogue. There was something that I read during the presentation, and I really would like to reread it again. So let's listen to some analysis here. So, a man found an eagle's egg and put it in the nest of a barnyard hen. The eaglet hatched with a brood of chicks and grew up with them. All his life, the eagle did what the barnyard chicks did, thinking he was a barnyard chick. He scratched the air for worms and insects. He clacked and cackled, and he would thrash his wings and fly a few feet into the air. Years passed, and the eagle grew very old. One day he saw a magnificent bird above him in the cloudless sky. It glided in graceful majesty among the powerful wind currents, with scarcely a beat of its strong golden wings. The old grounded eagle looked up in awe. "Who is that?" he asked. "That's the eagle, the king of the birds," said his neighbor. "He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. We are chickens." So the eagle lived and died, a chicken. For that's what he thought he was. Mr. Speaker, we are eagles. We must eschew a language of poverty, of aspiration, reject the 10 spies who want us to go back to Egypt. We are God's people meant for greatness. Let us fly.
A resounding clap for the Honorable Minister. Indeed, you agree with me that this has been a worthwhile session. All in all, very, very useful commentary, analysis, contributions have come. But the key takeaway is that we rise and we sing together. We need to build a competitive economy, an economy that is export-led, to correct the primary balance and ensure that we have a sustainable and competitive companies that will continue to drive our economy into the future. And to do that, we must pay attention to the gaps. There are linkages, and it's very important that we work as a team. Like Mr. Chum Akwabua said, there is agric and there is industry. In between that, there is a gap. How do we empower the services sector to plug that gap? How do we also ensure that our research and educational institutions are part of the effort to build the economy so that together we are running and working toward the same common goal? And if we find it in ourselves to build those linkages among all our institutions, Ghana would become the eagle that flies higher and higher. On that note, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. We'll now call on Mrs. Joycelyn Coleman to give us a vote of thanks, after which we'll entreat our panel just to wait behind while we get some group photographs. So, Mrs. Coleman, please come forward for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Andy. First and foremost, we'd like to thank the Lord for good life and good health. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, albeit in our masks. We thank God for a wonderful program. We thank the Honorable Minister for taking time off his busy schedule to shed more light on the budget. We thank our esteemed panelists, Madam Kosi Yankee Aye, CEO of Ghana Enterprises Agency, Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo, Senior Lecturer, Department of Economics, University of Ghana, Mr. Seth Chuma Kwabwa, CEO, Association of Ghana Industries, Mr. Kofi Frimpong Kori, Partner and Head of Tax, KPMG, and our able moderator, Mr. Andy Akoto, Partner and Head of Advisory. We thank our distinguished guests, both physically present and those of you online, about 800 of you, including our cherished clients, KPMG alumni, fellow KPMG colleagues, and indeed each and every one of you. We thank you all for being here this afternoon, well, evening at this point in time, and may the good Lord take us all home safely, and we look forward to seeing you here next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Coleman. So at this point, we've come to the end of this program. It's been very wonderful. I don't want to repeat what has been said already. At this point, we'll ask our panelists just to come a wee bit in front, and Mr. Anthony Sapon, senior partner also, for us to take some group pictures, please. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this event. It's been a real honor. And as you step out, meet, greet, mingle, get to know people. And thank you very much once again.